You... It wasn't even that fucking early. Oh my god, I hate this song so fucking much. Not too many complaints about this so far. What a stupid fucking mess. Of course. It just doesn't end. This song just will not let me go. Second wasn't very good. This world hates my fucking guts so much. It sucked. Still gonna be so close. Fuck my life. What did I do? No! You've got to be kidding me! How many ways can I fuck this up? Fuck. Those ticks are not gonna make it. That was pretty good. Ah! Damn it! Made up so many there. That solo act just killed me. Fuck, man. Yeah, that outro was really good. I'm gonna have to review that hammer-on orange whammy before the solo. I mean, my whammy before that wasn't that great, but that in particular, if I really missed that, that probably did me in. still a huge improvement over my first record. This is gonna be so fucking close. I have to go hard as fuck again. Try to guess. I might be down 200 anyway. Looks like I probably am. Fuck! God, this game is fucking cruel, man. And that first chord was bad also, so I have to push this really hard from here on out. I'm gonna have to get an incredible last. Let's see. Oh my god, where is the fucking knife? I know where my jugular is, just I need the knife. You have to be kidding me with that. Like, God, I just fucking hate this game so much. 20 minutes ago, I'm on top of the fucking world from getting that monkey wrench optimal, and now just seeing red. Holy fuck, I just cannot believe this game, man. Could have been better. Thankfully I have pretty decent ticks, so maybe that'll just bail me out. be it. It just has to be, but I can't hold my breath because I can't deal with the disappointment again. Oh my god, dude. This is one of the hardest fucking things I've ever done in my life. Straight up. I can't believe it was that close still. I almost shit myself when I saw the end ticks on that previous red before the ending. My ticks were the best they've ever been going into the break. They were, I think, tied with the best I've ever had after the break. Or, well, I don't know. It's so hard to remember. There's been so many fucking runs. But they were definitely the best they've ever been on to the last act. And I was playing with the idea of not using extended hit window on that last act, but I'm almost positive it would have fucked me if I didn't. This is weird, man. Like, inside, I feel like I should be Krakatoaing the fuck off. But I think it's something to do with that ending there. It's just such a slow drain that, like, again, I can't even get preemptively excited for it because I've had my heart broken so many fucking times. But, oh my motherfucking god, I am so relieved to not have this lingering over my head anymore. This has lingered on for multiple days of me putting in very consistent, conscious effort into this. This is seriously probably a top 5 score for me in this entire game. It's that fucking hard. Getting those 3 first acts is, oh my god, that is so fucking hard. Like, I probably am more intimately familiar with this song's timings than almost any other song in the game. This, Madhouse, The Trooper, and The Trooper is really just that one, is just the second act. This song is like everything, basically. But particularly everything related to those first 3 acts. The last video I uploaded was Jordan, the 64 out of 64. The response to that has been absolutely incredible. It's just a bittersweet feeling because the reason I bring that up is because on the one hand, it's like, obviously it's just great that people are watching these in some regard and able to recognize the effort and torture that goes into it. But on the other hand, man, I spent more time on this than I did on that Jordan score, and I guarantee there are going to be so few people that actually understand how crazy this score is and how fucking hard this was. And it's just sad on that front. Because I even put that in the description. Like, part of the reason I put that song off for so long is just because it was so, it was just frustrating just having people constantly bring it up and constantly, like, hold it on the highest pedestal. And, like, yeah, obviously, squeezing the song to that extent is fucking hard as shit. But there are so many things in this game that are like that and that just basically go under the radar for the most part, especially in comparison to the response that video got. Anyway, point being, it just sucks that stuff like this is gonna get overlooked, at least relatively, because, yeah, this was so unbelievably fucking hard. And it's crazy because, like, when I first did this song, this was the last song I did before my last SG's whammy broke, and I wanted to push for 338 at the time. I had to settle for missing a squeeze, and then after I missed the third act, I just gave up on ticks because I didn't care anymore. But if I had known what this was going to put me through to get 338 specifically, not 337, 990 fucking 8, but 338, there's just no, I don't think I would have been able to do that back then. And if I did, it was probably going to be a Madhouse situation. Of course, the difference, again, like I brought up in the Trooper, is that this is shooting for the, the 1,000 score threshold, and that was fighting for first fucking place against a proofless score. So it's likely that I just wouldn't have been able to go through with it regardless of my hardware. I think that's probably enough grievances out of the way, although it feels like I could just keep going through it for the rest of this day, but I'll stop myself. Let's get into the acts. The first act, dude, oh my god, that is such a fucked up activation. The whammy phrase for it is just fucking stupid. Although it did teach me something valuable, so I'm at least thankful to it for that. What it taught me is that preemptively ending a star power sustain with a note of the same fret, I was under the impression that just like it accumulates the rest of the points, it accumulates the rest of the whammy. And I know now that doesn't function the same on the extended hit window fret trick when you do it like that, but I thought it still functioned like that for ending a sustain of the same fret. Turns out it doesn't. So that first act is just fucking insane. It takes an early whammy on the blue-orange, obviously, which is already hard because you have the two greens into those two chords, which is just a really awkward sequence. And to get it to end on a downstrum where I can actually whammy that chord properly, I have to hold down the bar from the previous orange. So yeah, just getting that note, hitting it early is annoying enough. Then you have to get, the whammy on time. And the really shit part is after that chord, though, because as I just went through that mechanic, you can't afford to end that sustain early. And so you have to wait out that entire sustain before hitting the final note. And why that's such a problem is that to early whammy the yellow-blue, which you absolutely have to do to get this act, it basically breaks the strum limit half the time. And that's not even including the fact that it's just hard to fret that quickly enough because extended hit window doesn't work on chords like that. Thankfully, of course, you don't have to start a fresh whammy on the yellow-blue, but you still have to start whamming it because the previous whammy will not carry all the way through that chord. And then after that, you have that incredibly annoying front-end activation right out of that while you're whamming on those two quick greens. Like, holy shit, that act is fucking crazy, and that's just the beginning. Now, if you're just going for the act itself, for the 200, it might not be the absolute worst thing in the world after a while, but when you need to hold on to every tick possible, oh my god, it's just the beginning. Because that yellow-blue chord that goes into that orange-blue-yellow triplet is... Fuck, I hate that so much. The biggest pain in the ass on that is that because that chord goes into that triplet, you can't let off any of the previous notes in the triplet. And why that's such a problem is that if you watched and listened to my breakdown of Bury the Hatchet, on the breakdown there's like a similar thing, a sustain, that orange sustain that goes into that really fast blue, yellow, red triplet, descending triplet. It's kind of the same thing, and so my big breakthrough with the breakdown was to do a double strum on that triplet to activate extended hit window on the first hopo, the yellow, after the blue strum. But you can't fucking do that here because you're anchoring blue already, so it doesn't work. And holding on to all those ticks, especially because it's a chord under star power, fuck. You just lose chunks of 16 for every fucking frame that you don't hold on to that. And then basically the sequence right after is just like Bury the Hatchet. You have that orange sustain that goes way too far into the descending blue, yellow, red. So you have to deal with that right after. And so not only is it just incredibly hard to hold ticks on that, you just miss on that all the time. It took so fucking long to get good enough at that to stop dropping just a shitload of ticks on that first act. To do my absolute best to hold on to ticks, I just had to do an extended hit window strum on the orange and just treat it like a pull-off snake sequence. And now on to the back end, because the back end also really sucks, especially for holding ticks. Even when I first was learning this a few months ago, my initial strategy for it, it wasn't that long, I don't think, after I had done You Really Got Me, and I used the extended hit window trick. And so I was in that mindset, and I was thinking on the back end to use that extended hit window fret trick on the orange sustain and then just pull off to the yellow, but that execution is just too hard. On top of everything else, it's just too much. So what I settled on back then, and I'm still using now, is just doing, again, extended hit window strum, just strumming on the orange sustain and then just doing the fastest pull-off triplet that I can, basically. And if I execute that properly, I don't think I'm actually dropping any ticks there. And I think this run was actually a really good showcase of that because, again, I might have had max ticks going into the break. I actually want to check that real quick. I'm not sure if any path will align with my execution here, but yeah. So I straight up, I'm on the nearly ideal and it's minus 200 because the nearly ideal gets in the first green on that third act. Like, yeah, good fucking luck, buddy. There's like, what? How many whammies are on this stupid act? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6. 4 of them are hopos. Not that I guess really matters after the first one, but whatever. Yeah, I'm never going for that. But anyway, so looking at this path, I actually had max ticks 02 into the break, which is fucking absurd. Never done that before. And obviously I needed every single one of them. So in that one aspect, I'm thankful this run turned out, I guess, the way that it did. Because, yeah, holding all ticks on that first act is just... It took so long to get decent enough at that first act to where I was making it out with minus 16 even. For the longest time, I was leaving that first act with minus 32, minus 40, just because that blue-yellow chord, and even all the shit before that, is hard to hold on to ticks. Those chords in the intro that lead into the green strums. But yeah, everything, particularly under star power, was just killing my ticks. And I guess I should be thankful, because back then I was just blissfully ignorant to how incredibly tight it was going to be to pull off 338. Not necessarily that the ticks are so tight, it's just the pressure is so crazy once you get past that third act. Every fucking time. Just hard enough to function as a human being and breathe properly, let alone go for these stupid fucking ticks on these last acts. So anyway, I think I got basically all that out of my system. That act is just fucked. And honestly, it's the easiest of the 3 acts, I think. Maybe the third act is easier, but the second act, oh my fuck. That act is ridiculous, man. I can't believe I even got that back 7 months ago whenever I first did this, because that is easily one of the hardest acts I've ever hit, just in general. Basically, everything about it sucks. The whammy sucks, the front end sucks, the back end is like deceptively... It's just incredibly hard to time, even though it seems like it should be simple enough just to pull off quad. The timing is so strict for that act. But yeah, just over and over, like, this is stuff that I wouldn't show in the video because it's already going to be long enough, A, and B, it doesn't really serve a purpose in the grand scheme of things. But like, over and over and over, I hit the first act, you know, a lot of times not dropping ticks, and then I just miss the first whammy for that Act 2 phrase. Or I just get shit whammy, and it's the same thing, it just, runs dead. Or, you know, I miss any of the 3 hopo whammies afterward. Just getting through the whammy is such a fucking hurdle. And then, of course, the front end, that front end just never gets any easier, man. Especially under the pressure of hitting the first act with good ticks and getting good whammy. Like, already at that point, before you even hit the front end of the second act, you're feeling pressure. And it's just so awkward and shit to execute. And I still don't feel like I was doing a particularly good job, even until the bitter end with this song. I think the biggest breakthrough I had with that act, aside from just really honing in on the timing of those whammies, like I said, I just had to get intimately familiar with this song's timings in every regard, basically. But aside from, yeah, those whammies, I had to develop like a really methodical back-end approach. And what that ended up being is, first of all, you know, I wasn't anchoring red, which I don't generally like doing in terms of execution just because it feels awkward. but I know that mechanically it is the optimal way to approach pull-off back ends. So I just forced myself to start doing that, but then that wasn't good enough because I couldn't fret that descending triplet accurately enough to get consistency out of the timing on it. So I had to start elbow strumming the orange, one-handing, obviously the orange and the falling blue, and then tapping the yellow at a precise point just as quickly as possible to activate the red in the most replicatable way possible to get any kind of consistency out of it. And that was a relatively recent development, but again, like the front end, to the bitter end, that shit gave me problems. Probably at least half the runs that I got to it with good enough whammy and a good enough front end, I would just tap the yellow too early and I missed and there goes the run. Or I tapped the yellow and held it just a frame too long and there goes the run. Fucking nightmare act that is. And then crazy enough, you get into the act with the most whammy. The first whammy of the third act is that red, yellow, orange triple chord. It's not really a problem anymore, but like early on, the fact that I had to extend my hand down after doing that slide sequence made that really hard to fret on time to get any kind of proper early whammy out of it. I'm kind of just making a mountain out of a molehill at this point, but I might as well just keep discussing the hell this put me through. But yeah, if that chord was just the red-yellow chord like it is on the first whammy for the solo act, that would have been so much easier. I wouldn't have to like readjust my hand and slide it back up the neck and just fuck it. The bigger issue by far is getting any early whammy on that second whammy, the yellow-green chord. I'm gonna have fucking nightmares about that because trying to not hit that too early is just, oh god, the amount of runs that died to that on both the third act and the solo act, it was just so shit. Obviously more so on the solo act, but regardless, any run dying past Act 2 was just the saddest thing, man. It's just an American tragedy. And so I just ended up not getting great whammy off that after a while because of that negative reinforcement. I just so terrified of hitting that too early and ruining the run. And I paid the price for it on the third act over and over again. The third act, again, I think is probably the most lenient timing-wise, but with all the whammy that goes into it, it hardly matters, dude. Because you're gonna miss frames on those early whammies. And even at that, the second phrase for the third act, the fretting for it is much more awkward than the whammy phrase for the second act, because it scales down from yellow, red, yellow to red, green, red, and then it scales up to orange, blue, orange, which means you basically have to use your pinky to activate that orange sustain, which is just always a recipe for inaccuracy that you can't afford. And so, yeah, I missed a lot of whammy on that many runs. And so all of that shit whammy leads into one of the most god-awful front ends that I've come across in this entire game. The thing that killed my first run of this all those months back. But yeah, that front end is just absolutely miserable. Hitting that green early when the front end and the back end are both really small on those strums. So your leniency for hitting that early is very small, and then I had to let off and try to do an extended hit window front end on that green, and it was just like, if you didn't miss, you overlapped, or aka red flamed it. Just fucking miserable. And if you didn't do one of those, you missed one of the yellows or one of the oranges because your fret timing was just so delayed. Just shit front end. I hated that so much, and there's just no way around it because all of the sequence are in pairs of two. So regardless, if you're doing it on the second green or the second yellow or the second orange or whatever, to try to end on a different chord. It really didn't matter. There was just no good way around that I saw. And so I decided to stick it out on the green because at least there you don't have the opportunity of, like, I don't know, getting fucked over by the hopos in some way. And of course, even after getting a good enough whammy and a good enough front end, you have to worry about that back end. And it's not free. It seems like that hit window should be really big because it's just a single chord all by its lonesome, but it's just deceptively small, and it'll bite you over and over trying to extend it too far. And that negative reinforcement paired with your nerves will just eat you alive going for that act. Again, overall, it's probably the most lenient, and if it were the only squeeze I was going for, I probably wouldn't have much to say about it, but because it's the final one in this sequence of these 3 hellish first acts, that plays just as big of a role as how hard the act is itself. So now the solo, obviously not much to touch on here. I didn't use extended hit window on the front end, partially because I just could not find a decent way to make it cooperate. My initial thought was treating it like the $1 Billion Babies last act that I did, and in that video I mentioned that I thought that front end on that last act was going to give me a ton of trouble because of how awkward it was, but it really didn't give me like any trouble at all, and it's basically the same sequence. However, there's 2 big differences. I think this solo is a lot faster than that outro solo to that song, which means you have much less time to fret the following notes after the front end. And the other thing is, again, the nerves at that point are just out of control, man. It's not even comparable. So yeah, I gave up on the try to fret red in between the green sustain. But again, I want to stress that it was probably worth it if I were able to do that comfortably, because I realized that even if I ate into a couple of those green sustain ticks, it would be at the benefit of getting those green-yellow chord ticks on the back end. So in theory, it was worth it. I just couldn't get consistency out of it. I think this section is just a little too fast for me to comfortably do that, again, particularly under those nerves. And then after that failed, I tried to just do the release and re-fret method. And the first run that I got to the solo and threw at it, it actually worked, and I was like, oh, wow, and I actually had good ticks. I think I tied this run's post-solo ticks the first time I did that, and I was like, okay, maybe this will work out, even though, of course, I'm just shitting myself from nerves. But then I had like 2 more runs that red flamed the front end, and I was like, alright, well, can't do this anymore. Just not gonna work out. I just have to get better ticks overall and better whammy. So yeah, now I'm back to not using extended hit window, as much as it fucking hurts when I'm fighting for ticks this bad. And that's just on top of just hitting that solo under that pressure. And the triplets are not really the problem. The only reason I had that one dumb choke on them today is because it's really cold right now. I'm not running the heater because it's just been really up and down temperature the last few days. But anyway, so it was cold in here, and I literally just missed because I wasn't prepared for it, and my hands just kind of locked up on the first couple triplets. The real issue is that awkward sequence after them, and thankfully I only had that one choke, which was again today on that sequence, but every time I got to it I was just sweating bullets because it is just such an incredibly awkward, like, spider crawl fret pattern and speed under that pressure, but could have gone worse in terms of solo chokes. And now that oh so infamous last act, man. First of all, I just want to say I can't believe I did not have, I don't think, a single choke on the actual notes, like the hopos and shit and the intermittent strums on big end 1 or big end 2. Particularly on big end 1, there's that green hopo into the green strum that's really quick, and those can just completely fuck you on this engine. So yeah, first of all, I'm just incredibly surprised that I did not have any chokes on just hitting the notes. But that pressure going into big N2 on the front end is just insanity. the long wait, you're just watching your tick slowly go up on that red leading into it, seeing how much, really, yeah, just seeing how much you know you have to push this final sequence. Obviously, I had those 2 chokes on the front end, and the pain, the pain. And I want to touch on those real quick because my approach to that was pretty fucking stupid until today. The biggest reason I think I had those 2 chokes was not from hitting the chord too late, but because I didn't fret it in time. And the reason for that is because I was activating the chord on the orange with my pinky. And the reason I was doing that, even though I have all this time ahead to prepare for it, is because of the notes after, where it's the blue that goes into the descending quad. But I don't know, I just didn't realize you had so much time after that chord ended to readjust your fretting. And so, yeah, this was, I think, the first run that I got there on pace. And so, yeah, I'm really just pissed at myself for taking so long to make this adjustment, to just slide my hand down and activate the orange with my ring finger. Just so much more responsive and consistent. And so, yeah, the only thing past those front end chokes to talk about is that unbelievably heartbreaking sustain cut that I had. Oh my god. The reason that sucked so unbelievably bad is because I am almost positive I was on pace for 338 that run. The biggest reason that happened is because I was using a new method for hitting those trills, trying to minimize dropping ticks. Where before I was just, taking it as a consequence, if I have to drop a tick or 2 at the end of the sustain to make sure I hit these notes, I'm going to do that. Clearly, by the end of this, I knew that I had to hold on to every fucking tick possible. And so I started doing what I did for the first act, which is strumming at the end of the sustains and then pulling off and starting the trill. And I guess I just wasn't comfortable enough with that fretting, so I input an extra orange, and oh my god, my heart sank like a stone when I realized what I had just done. What an unbelievably stupid fucking way that was to throw away 338. But it didn't happen again. I didn't have any, again, chokes on the yellow-blue trill, which is the one I was really worried about. And it's over. I can finally stop having this shit linger over my head. I probably said it in the Trooper video, but that is genuinely the worst part about these. It's just like you wake up and you know that you have to go back to this. It's just this dark cloud that just follows you everywhere. Gotta get back to that. I gotta fucking finish this. And it just infects every aspect of your life. But it's fucking done. This is the same day I did Monkey Wrench. And so I'm really glad that I just finished this off and I don't have to have that be tainted by this negativity as well. But I really gotta say, man, I don't know how many more of these I have in me. I am burned. The only thing that got me through this, and this is the same deal with the Trooper and probably Madhouse as well, the only thing that got me through this really was the fact that I was picking off other things in the background, like finishing Beast in the Harlot, 483, Killing in the Name, and then, thankfully, luckily, Monkey Wrench. And that really just kept me in somewhat positive spirits. And yeah, the same went for the Trooper, where I started that halfway through the Xbox songs, and it was the last one I finished even after Thunder Horse. So I was just picking off other songs in the meantime, and that was the only thing that kept me sane during that. Anyway, I'm sick of talking, and I'm sure you're sick of listening if anyone still is, but yeah, holy fuck, I am so fucking grateful this is over.